I'm here today speaking with Natalie Jorgensen, police officer, university graduate and karate instructor. Natalie finished high school and went on to study criminology at university in order to secure her future career and her aspiration to become a police officer. This is her story today. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, you've grown up in the country, and can you tell me a bit about your background and where you went to school and what you're interested in?
Yep, so I grew up in Leopold near Geelong on a small family farm. I went to school at Leopold Primary School, and while I was there, I can remember a police officer coming to the school and just having a chat to us. I think I was in grade 5, and from there that's where I decided I wanted to be a police officer. From primary school, I then moved to Geelong High School for 2 years before moving to Queensland, where I finished my high school there. And after I finished high school, I went to university in Geelong.
Can you tell us a bit about how influential that police officer was that attended your school?
Yep.
How important was it in forming your, views and your career aspirations?
Yep. So when that police officer came to school, it was for the Police in Schools program. She showed us how to use the police radar. She showed us what they did on the police radio, how to use the police radio, and she also taught us the phonetic alphabet and just day-to-day police life sort of stuff. And from there, I really decided that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a police officer. And from that first instance in grade 5, I carried that through with me, I guess, my whole life, and that's where I am today. I'm a police officer.
What a great story. Can you describe how you saw yourself as a 16-year-old?
Yep, so when I was 16, I was very driven at school. I knew what I wanted to do. So I decided that's the path I was going to go down. I wanted to be a police officer. So I studied hard, but it was definitely a struggle at school. I wasn't very good at English. I was okay at maths, but I wouldn't say I was terrific. But yeah, English was a real big struggle for me. Luckily, when I got into the second half of year 11, I got a really good teacher that was willing to help me along, both at school and privately. And even though I definitely wasn't an A-grade student, I struggled. I only just passed English. I knew that I needed to do English to get where I wanted to get at the end of the day.
And did that teacher pay attention to you and take you aside and mentor you, or was that someone that you sought out help for?
My teacher saw that I was struggling, but I was very determined. So she came to me and just said to me that, look, she was more than happy to help me out as much as she could. And of course, I had to want the help, and I did. So I just took hold of that opportunity she gave me.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. And can you tell us about some of your subject choices that you chose to study in order to help your journey on becoming a police officer around about the year 11, year 12 mark?
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to go to university and probably do a criminology degree. So I looked at what the prerequisites for that was, and it was just maths and English. So I decided, okay, I'd do my senior maths and my senior English, but I wanted to have fun as well. So I also did multi-strand science, which is the fun science at school, I guess. I did drama, I did home economics, and I did business. And I was always very interested in business and advertising, that sort of stuff. So I really enjoyed that subject. Home economics and drama, well, they're just fun subjects, as we all know. So I knew that I could still get my entrance score into university by having fun through school. So that's what I did.
So was it about following your passions?
Definitely. You have to do that. I mean, if you're just going to do subjects that you're not interested in at school, well, you're not going to be interested in being there. So I made sure I did things I liked to do, which made school fun for me.
And when you went on to study at university, why criminology?
Well, I decided criminology because I knew I wanted to be a police officer, and I thought doing criminology would help me and my chances of becoming a police officer. So I guess my whole life has just been revolving around being a police officer. So all the choices I've made have led to that. And at the end of the day, criminology did help. It helped me gain some understanding of what would be expected expected of me as a police officer, and as well as teach me other things that aren't involved in policing but have certainly helped.
And is it something that you did in addition to prepare you for the job but not necessarily required for the job, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I did finish school in Queensland, and in Queensland you do have to get a degree to become a police officer. But I decided, because I finished school when I was 17, finished year 12 then, that when I came down to Victoria I wanted to do university to help my prospects of becoming a police officer, and so I'd be that little bit more mature with a little bit more life experience when I got to that stage of becoming a police officer.
Did you encounter any setbacks on your path to becoming a police officer?
Yep, so apart from my struggle with English and that sort of stuff at school, when I was in university I actually failed a subject. At the time I thought it was the worst thing in the world, but I soon realised that I could make that subject up during the summer. So I did an extra unit in the summer, I redid that unit the next year, I passed it, and it was smooth sailing from there.
Is it then a case of you telling me the message, whatever you put your mind to, you can really achieve? There's no barriers?
Yep, that's exactly right. If you want something that bad, anything that stands in your way, you can overcome it.
And has that attitude transferred over into other areas of your life?
Definitely. I suppose, as you mentioned before, I'm a karate instructor. So I've been doing karate since I was 4-year-old. I'm still not a black belt. I'm hoping to go for my black belt this year, but it just shows that dedication and perseverance can get you somewhere where you want to go.
And what was it like when you joined the police force and first arrived at the academy?
Yeah. So the police force, applying for it, it took me about 8 months before I got in. It was just a few tests, a few interviews, that sort of stuff. That wasn't too difficult, but first day of the academy, that was definitely very nerve-wracking, but it was comforting that there was about another 50 people there in the same shoes as I was in, and we soon became friends and went through the journey together.
Was there anything dramatic that happened on the first day that you can recall?
So the first day out on the job, when we were still at the academy, we did a bit of training at police stations, and we did watch housekeeper. So just in the station the first week. So nothing too bad happened then. But I can certainly remember when I was still a trainee, one of my first arrests in Portland, we saw a person riding around on a motorbike with no registration plates, that sort of jazz. We pulled them over. Turns out they had drugs in their possession, and we had an arrest straight away. So I was pretty nervous when that was all happening, but adrenaline soon kicked in and you learn from your experiences. So yeah, it was quite good.
Is there a culture of teamwork in the police force? So when you're a new probationary constable, you don't have to fear not knowing everything, that you might have someone else to rely on?
Yep, that's definitely the case. Every single police officer I've ever met have been more than willing to help me out. I mean, sometimes I felt a little bit silly for not knowing things, but everyone gives you a pat on the back and says, no, it's all good. We all started somewhere, and they'll soon help you out, and they make you feel like you're not silly. So that's really good.
And how much was a change was it for you, coming from a country background and going into the city and working in the police force in the city and things like that?
So it was a bit of a challenge. I'm definitely a country girl. I can't see myself ever working in the city, but while we were training at the academy, we had to work in the city. So you make it work. I mean, it wasn't the funnest thing I did, but I knew I wanted to do it. So the policing in the city to the policing in the country is extremely different. I guess the country people are a bit more laid back than city people, so your dealings with people has to change. But having said that, even though I'm a country person, I wouldn't have given it up for the world, even though I had to go to the city. So.
And what does your daily routine look like as a police officer? Do you have a system that you follow or a standard practice that you start the day with?
Yep.
Tell us a bit about that.
So at the start of the day, we all file in and we get told our duties, whether we're going to be manning the station or whether we're going to be out on the van. If we're manning the station, you have to look after the prisoners and all of that sort of thing. So generally the stuff you have to do in what we call the watch house is the same day in, day out. So you get pretty good at that. And then out on the van, the first thing that happens is you normally get tasked, you get told the problem areas in the area you're working in. And then from there you go out, you patrol the area and obviously respond to 000 jobs. So every day is not predictable, but at the start of the day you know what you're up for.
Just a question from left of centre. When you go to a job that might be a bit volatile, do you have some sort of backup system where if it escalates you can get help from other police officers?
Yep, definitely. So we'll go to a job if it turns ugly, I guess. We've got the radios, so all we have to do is come up on the radio and ask for assistance, and pretty soon you'll have people there. So it just goes back to the teamwork sort of thing.
And how does it make you feel knowing that you have that behind you?
Oh, a lot more secure, I guess, and a lot more safe. If there was no one around, I would be pretty scared. I'm not going to lie. I would be pretty scared, but knowing that you've got other people around and close by definitely makes you feel a lot better when you go to jobs.
And what sort of equipment do you carry and how much does it actually weigh?
Yep, so I suppose it's the question everyone loves. Yes, we do carry guns, we do carry capsicum spray, and we do carry batons. We also have obviously police radios, and we also wear ballistic vests. I believe it weighs about 8 to 9 kilos, so it is quite heavy, but you do get used to it.
And do you have your own gun?
We have an issued gun to us, but it has to stay at the police station. We can't take it home. Yeah.
And how important is physical fitness as a police officer?
It's extremely important, especially in this day and age. It's actually a requirement. You sign your contract saying that you're going to maintain your fitness throughout. And each year we do have to do fitness tests. So it's important on the road, especially if you have to chase criminals or search for missing persons. But it's also good in everyday life as well.
And what sort of things do you do to maintain your fitness?
Yep, so I obviously do karate. I do karate about 2 or 3 times a week for 2 hours. And it's pretty strenuous. You don't stop the whole time. I also do a bit of running as well. And I just like to keep my life active. I don't really like to sit on the couch very much. I just, like to be outside and doing stuff.
And does the station you work at here at Warrnambool, does that have any gymnasium for police officers?
Yeah, so we do have a facility at the police station. I believe most police stations do. So, I mean, it's certainly not as good as your 24-hour gyms, but it's definitely something they do definitely look after us.
And harking back to your schooling, is English and report writing a part of your work now?
It is a part of my work, and as I said earlier, I did struggle a lot with English, but certainly when you get out in the real world, English is a lot different to what they expect you to do at school. So we do have to do a fair bit of report writing, a fair bit of computer work, but it's definitely manageable, and everyone's there to help you out. They'll soon tell you what you can fix and what's perfect, so it's really good.
And does the Academy train you in some way to write reports in the style that the Victoria Police Force want?
Yep, so the Academy teaches us how to do that, and they also go through all the law with us. They teach us how to communicate with members of the public, that sort of stuff. So they certainly do guide you a lot, which is great. It's about 8 months now that I think that guidance program, but yeah, it's really good.
And finally, Natalie, what key message would you like to say to any students that are thinking of leaving school before finishing Year 12 or its equivalent?
Yeah, so I guess my main thing is, if you want a good job or if you want to have all the nice things in life, you really do have to study hard. You should stay at school. You don't necessarily have to go to university, but I mean, definitely finishing year 12 holds you in a good stead, especially with your employees. A lot of employers want people to have finished that year 12. And of course, if you have year 12, you're going to be more likely to get a better job, which means you're going to be more likely to be able to afford that nice car or the nice house, all that sort of stuff. So definitely persevere with it.
We've been speaking here today at Warrnambool Police Station with Natalie Jorgensen from the Victoria Police, who's given us an insight into her role as a police officer. Thanks for talking to us today, Natalie.
No worries at all.